So, you're learning about early medieval law and order. And 1,000 years ago was a very different time to now. In fact, the early medieval period, as we class it in the textbooks and in the exam board, lasts from 1000 to 1500, or the year 1500. That's 500 years. Think about what the world might look like 500 years from now. It's a huge chunk of time, but things stayed relatively similar in law and order terms from the year 1000 or 1000 to 1500. One of the key things is that, or differences to now, is that now we've got a lot more urban areas, cities and towns, whereas then there weren't very many, and the ones that did exist were very small. Most people lived out in communities quite far from other communities. So it stands to reason that a lot of law and order were small communities looking after themselves. The king, though, had a big hand in what was and was not against the law, because the king, back in the early medieval period, held ultimate power. As time has gone on since the year 1000, king's power have waned significantly till now, where we've got parliament and a prime minister in charge. But then the king's power was absolute. The only other thing that could influence law and order was the church. The only thing that could influence law and order to that huge extent was the church. And indeed the church had church courts to deal with crimes that were associated with the church, like blasphemy. So if you said, "Oh, for God's sakes," or "God damn it," back then, that would have been a serious, serious crime. Because the population 1,000 years ago were incredibly God-fearing. Now, very often, punishments could be incredibly hard and seemingly barbaric to us. Barbaric, should I say. That's because it was very difficult to catch people committing crime. They didn't have techniques. Think of all the techniques the police have now to catch criminals. Well, unless you actually caught the criminal in the act, it was very difficult to stop a criminal, to catch a criminal at the time. So the punishments had to be so bad that it would deter other people from wanting to commit crime. That was part of the idea. And that's just a bit of an introduction into a very different world. Remember, 500 years, it's a long time at this period, a very different world with a different set of ideals. Very religious, usually villages took control of their own law and order because, well, they had very little choice. There was no such thing as a police force. And the king and the church were the ones, especially the king, had a big influence over law and order. And there we go.